bystanders. Sometimes in this film you'll see people walking down the sidewalk in the background of a scene just looking into the camera. They're quite amazed to see a camera shooting out on the streets of Paris. This, again, was one of the great priorities of the New Wave filmmakers, including Godard, was to get the camera out into the real world and film these fictions in the real world. Godard said that a movie is like a Mobius strip, or cinema is like a Mobius strip with one edge. When you start to film fiction, you end up realizing you film documentary because you film things in the world with your camera. When you started to film documentary, you always find out you've filmed a fiction because you've structured it. You've chosen what to shoot and what not to shoot. You've decided what order to put things in. You've decided where to begin and where to end. So even though you think you're shooting documentary, you're shooting fiction. Godard absolutely wanted to combine fiction and documentary into one seamless whole that would be both with equal proudness at the same time. Here the two of them talk as they just ride down the street in a car. Every once in a while, Godard will just cut. There'll just be a cut to a different shot that's hardly different from the one before, just to make things more jagged, more nervous, more edgy, in keeping with the characters, in keeping with the nature of the story, and in keeping with the fun of cinema. You can cut in cinema, so why not cut in cinema? It's like giving rhythm to a piece of music. So notice how we have cut from several shots of Patricia here, one almost the same as the next, except for the way the sunlight is falling. There's no need for these cuts in story purposes. But they give the movie this particular kind of jagged, edgy rhythm, the same way that the percussion section might be used to give a piece of music a certain kind of jagged, edgy rhythm.
C'est là, stop.
Attends, je vais me garer, quoi.
Wonderful overhead camera angle. Again, surprise as always, from one shot to the next.
Je ne veux plus te voir. Fous le camp. Fous le camp, dégueulasse.
Dégueulasse, a word that comes up frequently in this movie. Disgusting is basically what it means. Again, a wonderful shot that at once portrays Patricia, shows her getting ready for her next scene within the story, and just has a very striking image of a certain kind of everyday architecture.
Sit down.
And it leads us into this, where we see the city spread out behind Patricia and the journalist, who she's going to be having coffee with.
I hope that, merci.
And this is just extraordinary because we have the characters, and behind them we have the city just spread out through that window. And once again, Godard is absolutely fascinated with both. And in fact, they are not, for him, really separable. People behave the way they do partly because of the surroundings that they are in and the surroundings they've chosen to put themselves in. And here, that is Paris.
Non, faut faire comme les éléphants. Quand ils sont malheureux, ou le contraire, ils partent. They vanish.
And here we have something that will happen very often in Godard films, simply the long conversation between two people, very often between a man and a woman. And it happens again and again in his work. Famous examples include My Life to Live and La Chinoise, but there's plenty of others. And here we have a good example of it. It's a little less heavy and philosophical than some of these other conversations in some of these other movies. Notice again the way the camera keeps cutting, little jump cuts, as if frames had just been pulled out of the shot here and there, just almost at random, just to give it that jagged, edgy rhythm.
Séparé, brusquement j'y ai repensé. Tout de suite, je lui ai envoyé un pneumatique où je lui disais que j'avais complètement oublié de lui dire qu'on devrait coucher ensemble. 3 heures après, je reçois un...
So this is more of a casual conversation from a man who clearly has an interest in Patricia, and Patricia thinks there might be something she can gain from knowing this man. But they don't get too deep into anything. They're each keeping a little bit at a distance.
You go to Orly tomorrow to interview Pavulesco.
Now he's sending her off on an assignment to interview a famous novelist who's coming into town to give a press conference. It's also interesting that he is an American who Patricia is meeting. She's also American, of course. There's tremendous influence of American culture on French culture, especially French popular culture, or especially French movie culture at this time. And Godard was strongly influenced by an enormous number of Americans. Hollywood filmmakers who he liked, obviously. Other people, too, he was interested in. I think the Beat Generation writers had a certain strong effect on him, if a kind of an indirect and oblique one.